I would like to talk about Star Wars and media literacy because it's lacking in the Star Wars fandom. So let's address the most common thing. Just because you didn't enjoy something doesn't make it bad. I'm just going to do the reverse of that. The Star Wars Holiday Special, everyone agrees it's bad. George Lucas thinks it's bad, nearly every actor, all of us thinks it's bad, badly put together, badly written. But at the same time, it's still, a lot of the fans find enjoyment in watching it despite how bad it is. And there's good things out there, well put together, well written, that you just don't enjoy because it's personal taste. Your personal taste does not make something automatically good or bad. And of course, with any media, show, movie, book, doesn't matter, there's a lot of subjectivity in there on what's good and what's bad. But there's generally some things people say consistent, they indicate something. And there's something I alluded to there, show, book, film, all that stuff. That's a medium of the story. And that affects how a story is written. And sometimes a story could be really good, but it's given the wrong medium. There's a reason why it's often said that the movie ruined the book. Because movies have to adapt the book, and sometimes the book is very hard to adapt to screen. And then, of course, there's many films are adapted into books, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. I'm not really a Harry Potter fan, but The Cursed Child, for example, as I understand it, I actually did read it, it's a terrible story. Inconsistent, just bad. But from what I heard, it's a good stage play, but it's a terrible screenplay, a terrible story. So you can have some interesting stuff going on because you get the subjective aspect, you get the medium aspect that impacts how well a story is and how well it's received. So the main thing is, just because you didn't like something doesn't mean it's bad. So probably the better questions you got to ask yourself is, what are they trying to tell? Do they actually convey what they're trying to tell? Things like that are way more important questions than, did I enjoy it? If you're trying to answer the question, is it good? Is it bad? I'm doing a series where I review every single episode of the TV show MASH right now. I'm on the second season. And something I've noticed there, really actually trying to think about the episodes from a more critical mind, I'm asking myself more questions beyond, do I enjoy it? I'm asking myself, what are they trying to say? Do the jokes impact positively or negatively what they're trying to say? Things like that are how we need to actually approach media critique and media literacy, because enjoyment is just one factor. It's what, at the emotional level, decides, do we continue watching a franchise, continue watching a show, continue reading a book? But when it comes to beyond what our enjoyment, but our trying to convey what we think of something, we probably need to be thinking of it not in terms of, did we enjoy it? Still a very important point to address, but to ask ourselves the question, did the writers, did the directors achieve what they wanted to achieve in the story? That's still, there's going to be some subjectivity there, but it's a more important question. Let's not get upset over bricks being in Star Wars Zando, for example. Why did someone get upset over that? I don't watch that channel anymore anyhow because of things like that. So I hope I conveyed the idea that we got to think about media more than just enjoyment. We got to think about how the medium of the story is impacting it. We got to think about what the audience is understanding, what the author is trying to say. But there's more still. For example, many people misuse terms like plot holes. A plot hole is not a minor inconsistency. The Death Star exhaust port being a flaw is not a plot hole. Now we understand, thanks to Rogue One, why that was the flaw of the Death Star. But it being the flaw of the Death Star is not a plot hole. No exhaust port actually would be a much bigger flaw because of all the heat it generates. Has to release that energy, that heat somehow. An actual plot hole would be if it didn't have exhaust. Basically, a plot hole is truly anything that actually prevents you from understanding the story being told. So, for example, let's say, the Force was never mentioned in Star Wars until Obi-Wan told Luke to use the Force during the Death Star trench run. That would be a plot hole because we'd be like, what's this Force? Why is it relevant? But that was set up earlier in the films, therefore it's not a plot hole. We're given an explanation that it's a mystical energy field. And the Death Star exhaust port, the flaw, is described as an exhaust port. What does exhaust do? It lets excess heat dissipate. It explains why it's there. Therefore, the idea that if we attack the reactor core directly, that's going to go up. Yeah, it's explained. Therefore, it's not a flaw. It's not a plot hole. I actually can't think of any plot holes in Star Wars. Let me know if you think of any. But before you respond, think. Is this something that's actually a plot hole that prevents me from understanding the story being told in the events that are being described? Or is it actually just a minor inconsistency, something that didn't get a full explanation? Because those are two very different things. So I hope in this video I explained what media literacy using Star Wars is. There's a lot more examples of media literacy and the different types of media literacy that you use for Star Wars and other fictional franchises than you would when, for example, consuming the news. When consuming the news, you need to be asking different questions. You're not asking, did I enjoy this? Did I understand the story being told? Did they, provide the information I need to understand the events that are going in the story? What messages are being conveyed by the story? That stuff are not the questions you ask when consuming the news for information. For that, you're asking questions like, is this a reliable source? What biases do they have? Are they trying to promote an agenda or not? Which is actually a different question than do you have a bias? Because everyone has a bias, and understanding a person's bias can help understand what they're saying. But having a bias itself is very different than deliberately, selectively choosing what information is presented in order to convey a message. I'm being selective right now in what I'm saying. I'm making deliberate choices to convey a message to you guys, my audience. Now, I'm not trying to mislead you or anything. I'm trying to create more insight, create a bigger discussion on media literacy in Star Wars. But I could easily frame my argument solely around enjoyment as the only thing important for media literacy. And that could be if I'm biased because I like Star Wars, therefore enjoyment's the most important factor for me. But I'm not doing that. I'm acknowledging that enjoyment is an important factor, that for me, I enjoy a lot of Star Wars, therefore I'm going to be looking at it in a lens that supports my enjoyment. That's a bias. But at the same time, am I trying to force you guys to like or dislike Star Wars? Am I deliberately choosing things to convey a certain message? Am I complaining about minor nitpicks and inconsistencies? Or am I talking about, this is what worked for me, this is what I like, this is what I think they were trying to say? That stuff conveys very different stuff. Yes, I drifted away from my point of the news, but that's because I wanted to connect it back to Star Wars, my topic. But whenever someone is talking about something, always ask questions about who they are, why they're saying this, what qualifications do they have to say. That's a big thing online. Here in the Star Wars space, the qualification basically is, have they actually watched Star Wars? Are they talking about something they've actually consumed? Doesn't mean they have to have watched everything Star Wars, but if, for example, I've never watched Doctor Who, so a video from me talking about Doctor Who will be worthless, because I don't understand it besides, timey-wimey stuff, and the TARDIS is bigger on the inside than on the outside, and the Doctor's name is the Doctor, not Doctor Who. I know the basics, but I couldn't talk about Doctor Who, the scenes they explode. Yes, I've seen clips, but I have no understanding of the franchise, so why would I talk about it? But I talk about Star Wars because I do have an understanding. I've enjoyed it. I understand, or at least I think I understand what the creators are trying to say with their stories. So questions need to be asked are like, why should you listen to somebody, even in the fictional media commentary space? Just ask yourself questions. Find sources you trust. And most importantly, if somebody is trying to make money off of your angle, be cautious of that. Basically, follow the money is a very common thing said when investigating corruption, but even in news, media commentary, follow the money. If a person makes money off of getting people angry, getting people to dislike something, perhaps they're not going to be the most reliable source because they have an incentive to promote anger, hatred, and things like that. Things that drive up negative engagement. Meanwhile, somebody who is maybe doing more, asking questions about, did you enjoy, what did you like, what didn't you like? Maybe they're approaching you from a different perspective, a different way, maybe trying to encourage a discussion. And maybe that's saying something about them as well, and maybe you should listen to them more. Am I now kind of promoting myself? Yes, that's my bias. That's my agenda in this video in some ways. So, I've reviewed my agenda, my purpose with the channel, trying to be creative but also answer questions about Star Wars and media and all that. But I guess I should turn it over to you. What did you think of this video? There I go, farming engagement, getting you to comment in the comment section down below. And those are questions you need to ask. What kind of questions do people put? What kind of calls to action do people do in their comment sections to get you to engage on the videos? That can also tell you something about them as well. So, we need to improve media literacy in the Star Wars fandom, and it can start with you by simply asking yourself the question, what is this person's goal in telling me what he's telling, and in the call to action? Is he trying to make money, trying to build a community, trying to, just foster a greater understanding? Ask yourselves those questions when interacting with people online, and especially in the Star Wars ecospace, where there's a lot of bad faith actors. But that's where I'm truly going to end the review. That's not a review. I guess it is a review of media literacy in Star Wars. But yeah, let's just get back on track. And like I said, I want to hear your thoughts on the state of media literacy in the Star Wars fandom. That's going to be my call to action for today. I'm done being meta. So in the meantime, thank you for watching. And of course, may the Force be with you always. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.